Hello, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. So glad y'all are here with me tonight. Put that there. Gonna need that a little later. So glad y'all are here with me tonight. Waiting for a couple of more people to come in. So glad y'all are here. If you know someone that this is their first time joining this live, if you could please take this time to share with them and invite them to join you tonight. I would appreciate that. I don't know about you. If you are in Georgia, it's raining here in Georgia. So hope I am praying that our connection will be well. But I'm not going to be up here long. Just really wanted to come up here and offer some encouragement to the day. Georgia, 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 Georgia. I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, Georgia. You're doing some phenomenal things since announcing your retirement. And you have not even gone into retirement. You went back into changing the world. So I'm so proud of you. Congratulations to what you are doing. I'm so happy for you. All right, y'all. So while we are waiting for just a couple more people to come in, I wanted to just do this live tonight. And I didn't want it to follow the template of the previous lives that I've done because I really wanted to just really have a heart to heart with you tonight if I could. And I know sometimes we can handle it. Sometimes we want structure, and I like to provide that structure. But tonight, I just really wanted to speak from my heart on some things that kind of, I've been thinking about as it relates to creativity. As you all know, that's one of the things that I talk about a lot with restoration and grief, and also with my husband with monetization of their talents and gifts on social media. We come together with the activation tour and talk to people a lot about really how to cultivate the gift that is inside of you. And so this past week, these last 4 days have been exceptional. And I wanted to just kind of talk about that because I really believe that you also, George, I know you can speak of this, are having some shifts in your life and transitions, and you may not know where you're going. You may not know what you're doing, and don't get it twisted. A lot of times when we are in the middle of our transitions, we don't have our hair looking good. We don't have our makeup looking good. We don't have our, smile. We're flat out, kicking and screaming, and not really wanting to cooperate with the process. I trust me, I know what it's like when you get a word from God sometimes when you're comfortable and then you get a word to do something that you consider outlandish and you're wondering how you're going to make something happen in your own strength. But then you realize you've got to surrender to the one that made you. Because if he told you to do this for the first 10 years of your life, he's going to show you exactly what to do for that first 2 months or that first 6 years of the new season of your life. And what I'm realizing is when you get into that point of getting the bell or the getting the word from God to move into a new season, um, you really got to position yourself to create the proper environment. So, if you joined me last week, I talked about the power of creativity for entrepreneurs. And I talked to you a little bit about, what creativity is and the fact that a lot of people feel like, if I am locked dead analytical, I can't possibly be creative. Or if I be creative, I'm going to, lose the interest that I need to lose and the focus that I need to focus on in the work that God has, given me in my job. And what we tell a lot of people on the activation tour is we really break down what creativity is and its source. And we let them know that creativity pretty much came from God. And that is one of the gifts that He's given us. And a lot of times when we are thinking about creativity, we tend to struggle with how we're wanting to use it. Maybe we were told to create a patent for something. Maybe we were told to, start a new business. Maybe we were told to start an after school program. Or maybe we were told to, create something or, do something that people are already doing it, but doing it in a different way. And we may not necessarily know how to, navigate through that process. Well, I wanted to just share a revelation that I got, just recently, and I hope that it can be of help to you. It's so many things that can keep us and hold us back from pursuing the things that we were called to do or pursuing the creativity that we were given. And a lot of times when we get frustrated and not knowing how to handle the ability to express that creativity, it can bring upon grief. It can bring upon heaviness. And a lot of times when I work with my clients in grief talk, a lot of people think that the work that I do is just solely based on losing someone or death and a funeral. It's not always like that. The people that I work with, in fact, are corporate people and family people and people that are individuals and singles and heads of state and church leaders and entrepreneurs and creators. And I tell people a lot of times that when you come to the point of doing something for a long time, you're thinking that you're creating headway, and you start realizing that things may not be working, and you're being told that you need to try something new, but you don't want to go in that direction. It can begin to pull at your spirit, and it can make you heavy. Heavy in the sense of depressed, or heavy in the sense of saddened, or anxiety, anxiety, or you begin to panic because you don't necessarily know what you're going to do. You don't know what your next is going to be. And a lot of times, some of us tend to stay in that box that we're in because we're comfortable. We don't necessarily know how to navigate and move out of that state that we're in because that's all we've ever known. But when we come into the essence of creativity, we realize that that came from the same place that purpose came from. Creativity comes from the same place that purpose came from. Creativity comes from the same place that our Creator came from. And if He's given us the tools and the wherewithal to be able to hear His voice, He is going to be able to tell us the A, B, C, and the D steps of what it is that we have to do. I'm standing before you here right now as someone that is uh, more refined than what I was at one point. I used to think I went to school for this. This is all I ever need to do. This is all I never ever need to be. And when God began to show me how to express myself creatively in different venues and how to turn a book into a conference, into a workshop, into a mastermind, into a podcast, into a blog, into a course, it began to really make sense to me that, my God, there's something there that I need to pay attention to. Because if He's going to give me the ability to be creative and allow me to create SOPs and operating procedures and curriculums for my managers and for my bosses in these communities that I'm doing and provide reinvestment strategies, I can do that on my own and even in some cases become more profitable than if I were to continue to stay there. Thankfully, I'm able to still do both. But what I'm saying is, we need not lock ourselves into one frame of creativity, but we can begin to ask God from that same source that He gave us to do that job and to do it with purpose and to do it with excellence. How is it that you can be disciplined over here, but you don't think that God could use you to be disciplined in this area? And one of the things that I began to say is, or see, is when I began to express myself more creatively in the purpose outside of my job, I began to see, wow, I'm actually writing, and one book becomes two books, becomes three books, becomes six books, becomes eight books, and then actually go to my sixth course, and to be able to, with my husband, produce over what, 37, 89 books, with other customers and clients that we've had. And it's really about helping to birth in them the fact that they were created with purpose. And while we were created with purpose, the same one that gave us purpose is the same one that gave us the ability to express ourselves. And so a lot of you may be in a situation where you're like, you know what, this is all I've ever done. This is all I've ever known how to do. And so, because of that, I don't necessarily know the steps to take to do this or that. And what I'm saying to you is, like I was telling my husband earlier, I use this example because it was a conversation between he and I. And I said, you know what, babe? A lot of times, when you have, this whole element of creativity. You could tell I'm sleepy. We've been with the children all day. They met their teachers, and it was just a phenomenal day. But still, I'm committed to this live, and I'm going to do this live. So, when you come into the ability to create, you begin to get really full of the ideas that are flowing in your mind, and you begin to put those things on paper, and you begin to say, you know what? I'm going to go and tell this person. I'm going to go and talk to this person. Or I'm going to create something, and I'm going to go and share this product with this person. And that person tells you, you know what, you're on to something. Why don't you go and take up residence? And I told my husband, it's likened to a street. Like, I'm from Kinston, North Carolina. I grew up on Desmond Street. So I'm going to use Desmond Street, for instance. So there's the houses on each side of Desmond Street. And we're not going to say they're houses. We're going to say they're businesses. And let's just say that there are six of the same kinds of businesses on the first left and right hand side of Desmond Street. So you have those people that are on that first floor, and they're creating the same type of business. But you're just like, you know what? How am I going to make it if I come in as business number six and everybody is doing the same thing that I'm doing? How is it that I'm going to be able to be heard or be seen if I am, gonna be successful? And one thing that we do is we say, you know what? I'm gonna come to social media. And so rather than learning our product, and rather than allowing the creativity to grow in us, and rather than cultivating the gift that we've given, and rather than honing the listening in terms of what God wants us to do with our product, we go on social media and we say, you know what? I see what this person is doing. I like that. I'm going to take that. Or I'm going to take this. And I'm going to take that. And then we develop this hustler's mindset where we're going to just, put on a neon sweater, or we're going to get some neon lights. And I'm going to be the sixth business of this sort on the right and the left hand side doing this or that. But I'm going to try to be as loud as I can, as bold as I can, as as shady as I can, or whatever, anything I can do to bring business rather than just being the most creative as I can. And don't get me wrong, I know that there are marketing strategies that we need to use that separate this person from that person. Don't get me wrong, I understand that, and there is a place for that. But what I'm saying is, a lot of us don't hone our craft long enough to get the difference maker, to get the shift that's going to make our product better than the other person's product, because we're trying to just say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go shopping on social media. I'm going to go to Instagram, and I'm just going to see how this person takes pictures. So rather than turning their product left, I'm going to turn mine right. And a lot of times you limit yourself and you short sell the creativity that God has given you, because you say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to take a hodgepodge of everybody's stuff. And since I'm coming in as the sixth business of this street, businesses one through five, by the time the person gets to my business, if they come from the other direction, I'll be the first. And what we need to realize is all of that stuff is gimmicky, and it does not work. It doesn't work. And I'm telling you, I had to learn that hard lesson myself, even with the things that Darcy and I have been called to do. You may have 20 people that are doing conferences. You may have 26 people that are doing this or that. But the people that are supposed to be at what you're going to be offering, they're going to gravitate to what you have to offer, and they're going to be your customers. And everybody else, they won't. And that's one of the things that I had to learn. And I know that there has to be some balance in what I'm saying. So don't think that I'm, all on this side of the scale without being balanced. I do know that there are, different sides and needs to be balanced in what I'm saying. And I'm trying to create that with what I'm saying to you. But what I'm saying is, for the discouraged person that may be watching this live, that may be saying, you know what, I'm at my wit's end. I don't know why my stuff is not working. I don't know what it is that I need to do. So I'm just going to just say, forget it. And I'm just going to go and get this person's stuff, a little bit of this person's stuff. I'm just encouraging you not to sell yourself short, not to sell the gift that God has put inside of you so short. Don't do that, because creativity comes from God. And the same ability that He's giving you to give you purpose, He's giving you that same ability to be able to be creative. And one of the things that I share with people a lot during my session with the activation tour, and the things I've tried when we travel and I talk to people all over in the activation tour, is really this: if you don't allow yourself to express yourself creatively, or if you're trying to not hone and learn your giftings as a creator, and if you're just trying to short sell yourself by grabbing this person's stuff and that person's stuff, it's only going to lead to heaviness in your spirit. It's going to lead to heaviness in your soul, and it's going to lead to dysfunction in your mindset, because all of the space that you need to allow for God's creativity to come upon you, you're going to be filling that with anxiety and worry. And, oh, I got to check this person's post at 9 o'clock because my live is at 10. And I need to make sure that I get some of their points. So at 10 o'clock, I can, be able to say what they said. I'm just encouraging you, you know, don't do that. Don't sell yourself short. Believe in the gift that God has given you, and believe in the calling that He has given you. Don't you think that if He's brought you this far and what He's allowed you to do, if He's in it, and if He's telling you to do something else in a more expressive way, in a more creative way, don't you think that He's going to give you the wherewithal to be able to do what you need to do to gain success? And that's really the question and the encouragement that I wanted to share with you tonight. As you saw at the beginning of the week, I normally would post on Monday that I'm going to do a live and announce it for the whole week, but this has been a phenomenal week. I had asked God for certain things when we came back from the activation tour in summer of 2018, last summer. For those that don't know, my husband and our children packed up 16 suitcases, and we flew overseas, and we were in Belgium, Paris, France, Brussels, Belgium, Douala, Cameroon, and Libreville, Gabon for about 40 days. And during that time, we held 4 of our activation tours in each of those countries. And it was an amazing thing because we were blessed with the opportunity to meet creators, heads of states, corporate people, families, individuals, singles, people that were trying to lift their business off of the ground, people that were seasoned in their ministry and whatnot, and to be able to help give them a space to be able to cultivate their giftings. And what we realized is, when Darcy and I went in, he allowed me the opportunity to have my session first. And so I really charged, in the prayer time that I had, I was like, okay, God, what is it that you want us to kind of express? And it was really this. A lot of us are really, really getting mesmerized by what we see on social media. You see people, and you don't realize that these people that you see in their current state had a story. Before you see the lights and before you see the glamour and the glitz and the bling, these people had a story of building and getting to a point of where they are now. You do have some people that don't sell coaching or don't sell their craft in the best way because they paint this picture to people that it's a gimmick and it's a formula that they're just supposed to swallow, and overnight they're going to be a success. Well, if you've ever been through anything in your life, you know that that's not the way that it works. A lot of times you have to start from ground zero, where you're praying in tongues and you're fasting and you're just like, God, I'm doing what you're telling me to do, but I see no clue about how this is going to get better. Well, I don't know what school you came from, but I've come from the school of even achieving a degree and multiple degrees, and still realizing that the gifting that you have in school is not necessarily the giftings that you will have in business. It takes a certain acumen to be able to function as an entrepreneur, because you're coming not into a bureaucratic state when you're being hired by a 9 to 5. You're coming into a white canvas where you're building something from the ground up. And a lot of times when you're building from the ground up, you're not going to see those policies and procedures. You're not going to see those budgetary standards and restrictions. You're going to go into something. You're going to form relationships. And all of those relationships are not good relationships. You're going to lose money. You're going to make money. And you're going to lose it again. And I had to realize that, hey, the elements of failure, which is something that I used to run from all of my life when I was in school, matriculating up to the point that I'm at now, I saw failure as something, oh my God, you just don't do this. You don't fail because you've always got to win, until I became an entrepreneur and I realized that failure is nothing more than an adjustment to be able to get into the place that you're supposed to be in. And what I realize is that there's a situation of emotions that go between, being in a settled bureaucratic state when you're coming over to an entrepreneur, and vice versa. There's a set of emotions that happen. And one of the things that I was able to do this week with one of my VIP clients is to really talk about what happens in that shift when you are in that state of mind of saying, you know what? I remember when things were so easy, when I could just come into a situation and it was already done. That the things were already laid out. Everything was so, perfect and, so well planned. And all I had to do was just follow A, B, C, D, and E. And I would have some ability to be creative, but not much. And, I could just get paid and just be. And I was okay with that until I kept hearing this door knocking on the edge of my heart. And God was just saying, you know what? I see you doing this. I see you succeeding at doing this. But did you know that you can use that same creativity to do this over here? And when I began to do that and follow God's voice, I began to say, wow. I'm writing these books, I'm designing these courses, and I'm wanting these people that I know to buy my stuff. And when they didn't buy my stuff, I immediately got depressed. And I was just like, why aren't people buying my stuff? And that's when I had to learn. The people that you go to work with every day, or the people that you eat dinner with every day, or the people that are your family members, they're not obligated to buy your stuff. And just because you become an entrepreneur doesn't mean that they're going to respect that new authority on your life, because most of them are still trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. No, when you become an entrepreneur, or when you decide that you're going to walk in this creativity that God is giving you, it's going to require, in addition to the giftings that He gives you, it's going to require you developing your emotions and tempering your emotions in a way where you can be able to get this ability to keep going. That's called grind. That's called grit. That's called tenacity, perseverance. That's called strength. Because year one, you may not see anybody supporting your stuff. But are you going to stop? just because nobody's buying your stuff. And I think a lot of times the enemy uses that emotional state, that emotional fragment, and that emotional fragility that we have to lock us into this state of thinking that this is all we ever have done. So this is all we ever need to do. But I'm telling you right now that he's a liar on that. Because the same way that God gave you purpose to do that, he can give you provision and creativity to do this over here. You just got to know that in the tempering of your emotions, you got to say, okay, you know what? No matter what, I'm going to be steadfast. I'm going to, continue with what I'm doing. I'm not going to sell out by trying to grab what this person is doing just because they're doing something like I am. I'm not going to sell out social media by saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to just, do, um, the minimum, or I'm just going to follow this person's blueprint. No, God has given you a lane of your own, and He's telling you to carve that lane out, and He's telling you to be bold and not try to, you know, um, sell out to what this person is doing because guess what? You're going to be chasing them all your life. You're going to be chasing them all of your life. And when you start chasing people, it's going to create a situation for you. Well, if that person decides to take a siesta or a vacation for a month to England, you're going to be waiting on their lives and they're not coming on. And you're wondering, I can't talk to my customers until I watch this person. And you realize you're in bondage, the same kind of bondage that you felt that you were in over here. When all that you have to do is allow yourself to listen to the one that gave you purpose, the one that gave you creativity, so that he can continue to develop that creativity inside of you. So, this is what I talk about at the activation tour. I talk about how to use that emotional intelligence in that space between where you were and where you are now and where you're going because you're going to need that. And I'll talk about a lot the grief work that I do. And again, for those people that think that I do just grief work as it relates to a person and them dying, that's not everything. Because when you think about it, anytime you go through transition in life, it's equivalent to a funeral. You're in the church, you're in your house. You come home with a pink slip. The pink slip represents the news that a person that you love has died. And a person that you love, that you're used to seeing all the time, is no longer here. And that pink slip is going to provoke an opportunity to go to the unemployment line. And for you, that's going to be equivalent to a death. It's just like you're going to the front of the church, looking at an open casket, looking into the casket, seeing this person dead, and you're looking into the casket and the unemployment line, and you're saying, oh my God, all of this big stack of forms represents the fact that I'm no longer working. Oh my God. And so you leave, you go sit down, like the person goes and views the body, and they go sit down. And while the service is going on, it's a blur to you because you're just looking at that casket. That person is looking at the form, at the unemployment line, at this pink slip, at his ring or her ring, saying, my life as I know it is never going to be the same. And that's why when I work with people about grief and I call my company Grief Talk, people think, oh, it's not about me. I'm not grieving. But guess what? You're in transition. You're starting over. And you're having to think, oh my God, I'm going to get up tomorrow and put on a suit, but I have nowhere to go. That's just like that person that lost their parent or lost their sibling or lost their pet. They get up the next morning wanting to talk to those people, but they have to drive to the gravesite. And they're looking down at this grave saying, who am I? What am I supposed to be without you? All I know was I was your sister, or I was your brother, or I was your husband, or you were my pet. That's all I've ever known. And when you think about it that way, transition is like a death because it represents something that you no longer have. And it represents the courage and the grit that you're going to have to build in that space to be able to get to where you're trying to get next, because you can't live your life from a view of something that you no longer have. It's just like carrying dead bones or a dead body or your cubicle on your back. How long are you going to carry that on your back before you realize you can no longer keep carrying it? Because after a while, it's going to start to smell. And it's not going to be profitable for you to carry that on your back, because the back and the strength that you need, you're carrying something on your back that's not giving you life, because it represents death. It represents where you came from. And that's why a lot of my sisters and a lot of my brothers that I coach in relationships, we're constantly looking at that revolving door. And we're looking at that revolving door. We're sitting and gotten a tent pitched at that revolving door, because we're looking at this joker that didn't treat us right, or this woman that didn't treat us right, and it was so good, but that's all we think that we're ever going to have in this life. So we pitch a tent at that door, and we're waiting for that person to come in. And while we're waiting and waiting, we get 2 and 3 years down the line and we're still waiting. Meanwhile, you've had so many people come by you asking you for dates, and you're telling them, I'm not interested. Why? Because you look to the left and you remember the favorite food that you used to cook for him. And you look to your left and you see the engagement ring that he gave you, but he broke the engagement because he left you for someone else. And you're looking for him to come through the door, and they're not coming. So you go outside and you look some more. When are you going to get the message? They're not coming back. They don't want you. They didn't even deserve you. But we don't want to separate from what we no longer have, because we are so afraid to go to what's ahead. We're going to have to start over. And like I told you, don't let this expression fool you. I've been aplenty through my transitions where I would, through tooth and nail, have fought, cried, kicked, screamed, because I'm like, oh no, God, it's so comfortable here. I don't want to leave this space. I don't want to do that. Do you think it was an easy feat for my husband and I, last summer, to pick up ourselves and our children and 16 suitcases, my aunt, his cousin, and travel 26 hours on a plane to not only one country, but 4 countries? We got that vision 2 years before it happened. When we got that vision, we were already in Paris doing our 10th activation tour, and it was just, we were in Paris, just Paris. We took the girls. Olga wasn't born, so it was just Darcy, myself, and our 2 girls. The 4 of us just went over to Paris and conducted the activation tour. Well, while we were there doing the activation tour, we got the download that we were supposed to do another tour in the next year. And not only that, everybody was going. So this is how it went. We went in October, Darcy? 2017. I had surgery November 2017. I got pregnant with Ogo. Is that right? 16. 16. Yeah, 2016. I got pregnant with Ogo. Let me back up. October 2016. We went, no, October 2016, had the surgery. November 2016, got pregnant with Ogo. October 2017. Yeah, December. Yeah, December. And I had Ogo the following year. But what I'm saying is, during that time when we were given instructions, by the time we went on the tour, fast forward, Ogo was almost, 9 months old when we did this tour last year? I'll get the dates and I'll put them on my posts so it won't confuse y'all. But the point is, the process of planning this tour, planning this world tour, and the cost of the world tour. Not to mention the cost, but okay, we're not just taking ourselves, we're taking our children and having to get them prepared. And then the cost of the activation tour. And then the preparation to do the activation tour. And then when we get over there, not just going to one country, but 4 countries with our children and the logistics involved. Y'all, it was a lot. It was a lot. And what I'm saying to you is there is no way during that time that Darcy nor I could look to the left or the right at someone doing what we were doing or doing it like we were doing to try to find, oh, how can I take what this person is doing? How can I take what this person is doing? There comes a time when God is going to show you that He needs you to do something that no one has ever done. And what are you going to do then? God is calling you to pioneer something that nobody has ever done before. Are you going to be willing to consecrate yourself to hear His voice? And here I was birthing a baby, waiting to give birth to a baby, and at the same time nurturing this pregnancy of the activation tour and giving birth to that at the same time. Can you imagine the flood of emotions? My God, you're telling me as soon as I have my child, we're going to have to pack up, go overseas, 16 suitcases, 4 countries, and 4 different activation conferences in those 4 countries. And every one that we went to, y'all, it was people that were there whose lives were changed. People went, Darcy and I created and cultivated a space with the help of the Holy Spirit for them to be able to heal from the stuff, because there's so much stuff that exists in our mindset that tells us what we can't do and why we can't do. And once you get through all of that sludge, then you begin to realize, oh, I have creativity inside of me. There was a person that came to our 13th activation tour in Paris. And this person had talked about the fact that he had lost his parents. He was so remorseful and so tearful and so emotional at the tour. And we had a lot of people that were there that were wanting to share, but not really feeling comfortable to share. And I remember that we had Coach Joanna, Coach Terry, Coach William, and my husband and myself teaching that night. And I remember that we knew when we went in, we knew this was going to be a different activation tour, like none other that we had ever had before. And I remember my husband got up and started teaching about strategies. And then Coach William got up and began to talk about, destiny. And Coach Terry began to get up and talking about the blessing and talking about purpose and relationships. And I remember Coach Joanna got up and she began to dance prophetically. And I remember that God got me up and began to prophesy over the people that were there and began to curse and burn out with the fire of God the chains that were over the mindsets of people that were keeping them from walking in their creative purpose. And when you had strategy, when you had destiny, when you had blessing in relationship restoration, when you had prophetic destiny, and when you had deliverance all in the same room, it was a combustion, y'all. People were falling out under the power of God. They didn't come there for that. But the point is, you got to understand, creativity is not just saying, okay, I'm ready to make money. I've been poor all my life. I'm ready to make money because I need to get my family out of the ghetto. I need to get some money. I need to get over here in this new address over here. I need to make some money for my family. I need to get a new car. I need to get more and more and more so I can stunt on social media. No, all that's nice and everything. But when you have destiny created and tied to your creativity, you're going to get free so that you can be able to take that God given talent that God has given you and to be able to take it to that collective of people that you are sent to. And when you do that, you're not just going to help them make money. No, you're not going to do that so that they can show their stuff on social media and get likes. That's not what this is about. See, if that's where you at, you ain't ready. That's not what it's about. It's about duplicating and creating legacies in the kingdom of God, for the kingdom and the will of God to continue on this earth. And so you're getting free so you can be able to get in field, get creative, produce, mass produce Christ, and go out into the world and do that for someone else. And it's amazing. After we have done these 14 activation tours, the testimonies are amazing. We've had people not in our name because we do everything in the strength of God. They have gone on to have worldwide television shows. They have had sold out conferences. They have produced products that have been international bestsellers. They have had restoration in their families. And yes, I consider restoration in your family equivalent to a bestseller because if you don't have peace in your home and if you don't have deliverance from those things in your past that bound you, you're going to continue to live in hell while making millions. But God wants your soul. He wants to get your soul cleansed so that you can be able to hear from Him, so that you can be able to do what He's called you to do creatively in the earth and duplicate that for His glory and then go and change the lives of someone else. And that's what my husband and I do. And the testimonies are amazing because now people that we've worked with, they're doing their own conferences, they're doing their own books, they're doing their own businesses, and they are doing it, duplicating and helping others to do it. And that's what it's about, y'all. It's not about bling. It's not about, this magic formula that you swallow. It's not about selling people this gimmick that they're going to win on day one because it's not always like that. Angels and demons are real. And so for as much time as you give to chasing haters on social media that you think are keeping you from your purpose, you need to consecrate yourself to the powerful God and allow Him to speak into you and to give you strategies of deliverance to be able to combat those enemies when they come against you. So they can come against you one way and flee in 7 ways. Okay? That's what this is about. So, y'all, that's all I wanted to say. I really hope that this live blessed you. I'm going to challenge you to share this live with 3 people in your circle of influence. I'm going to challenge you to share this live on your page. And I'm going to challenge you to share this live with 3 people in your circle of influence. I want you to do 2 other things for me. If you have not made a decision yet, I want you to come to the activation tour on August 17th, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. My husband and I, this will be our 14th? No, this will be our 15th activation tour. And we are starting our activation tour this year right here in Atlanta, Georgia, where we are living right now. And I'm telling you, it's amazing because we see people coming to us and asking, okay, how did you do this? How did you do that? I want to do this or I want to do that. And the thing is, we create a space for people to cultivate and for people to grow. And it's an amazing thing. Oftentimes, it can't even really be duplicated because we've seen one situation happen in Belgium and a completely different happen in Paris. And it's just been amazing. But when you give yourself to be created and cultivated, you can allow yourself to be activated. And that's what God is about. He's ready to activate you. And that basically means that you're going to basically put his super on your natural, and for him to be able to download into him and to you those strategies and tactics to be able to take you where you need to be and to those people that are waiting for your message. And a lot of times we get frustrated because we're on social media and we're like, why aren't I getting likes? Why don't these people want to hear me? Those may not be the people that you're called to, quite frankly. But I promise you, when I wrote my first book and I realized after the first 6 months, nobody that I knew was buying my book. And so I began to do the analytics and I searched the algorithms and I began to realize people in Nigeria, New Zealand, and Australia were buying my first book, Overcoming the Orphan Spirit. And I was like, oh my God, these are people that I don't even know. And that's when I began to realize the people that you're called to is bigger than the people on your street. God is a big God, and we live in a whole world. So I'm telling you, even if the aliens on Venus or Saturn or these other, places that we have, they may be interested in my stuff and I may not even know about it. But what I'm saying to you is this: you cannot allow those people in your circle of influence that go out with you all the time, that shoot the bull with you all the time. You can't expect those people to come up when you announce that you're going to be doing something great. They don't see you like that. You got to give them some time. Meanwhile, you can't allow that to stop your voice from being heard. You got to allow yourself to keep going forward and to keep saying, you know what? I'm going to find my people. And I realized people in places that I didn't even know were listening to me. I'm getting emails from all over the world in languages that I don't even understand. Can you put your book in this language? Well, absolutely. How am I going to do that? Let me pray. God gives me direction. I do it. And not only that, but when you begin to do that, you begin to say, oh my goodness. So, God, this is what success looks like. Success doesn't always have to look like the rented Beamers and the rented Lambos that people show on social media. And you get frustrated and depressed because you're not at that level. Don't allow yourself to be fooled like that. You have some that have attained that level, and God bless them. But for those that are trying, I wish that they would not use that in their marketing scheme because it really depresses the heart of the people. But at the same time, you got to be strong in yourself and say, I'm not going to be led by the left or the right. I'm going to focus on what I need to do. And if God has given me the ability to create, I'm going to be focused like flint and do what I need to do. I told you all in my live last week, Darcy and I did not get our first television until 2014. We got married in 2005. We did not have our first television until 2014. When we first got married, one of our goals was to eliminate consumer debt because we knew when God called us to do what we were doing, we were serving and started our Bible study and started our book clubs locally, but then we began to get called overseas. We couldn't be in, trying to struggle to scrape up money when we needed it. So we had to position ourselves. That may not be your thing. That was our thing. And so for those years that we went, we just basically put our stuff together. We lived under our means and we began to just make things happen. And as God instructed us, we began to go out and do what He called us to do. But we didn't have our first TV until 2014. And it's just when you look back at that, that may not be the path that someone wants to follow. They may say, oh my God, y'all are so prosperous. Y'all doing so good. Everybody has a story. But see, people want to attach themselves to your bling, but they have no idea about your story and all the hell you went through and all the lack of clarity that you went through and all the times you were building and tearing down and building like some Lego blocks, like a 15-year-old kid or a 6-year-old kid in the middle of the floor, and your blocks fall down and you a 30-year-old person, and when your blocks fall down, you in the floor crying. You know what I'm saying? People don't see that. They don't know that, but they want to be attached to your glory, see? But you got to know that you're building something, and you got to be encouraged to know that what you're building is going to be great and it's going to succeed. And you got to believe God to show you those people and stop trying to go after this person's blueprint and that person's blueprint. Believe that God has a blueprint specifically for you. And the same God that gave you purpose is the same God that gave you creativity. So, y'all, August 17th, if you are in Atlanta or if you are willing to travel to Atlanta, I'm inviting you to come to our 15th activation tour. We're going to be having it downtown Atlanta. And I'm telling you all, go ahead and get your tickets. Don't wait till the last minute. I'm telling you now, because the doors will be closing soon. If you know that you're going to come, go ahead and make the decision, because Darcy and I are not about sold out events. We love it. We love for it to happen, but we are truly believing and focused on those people that are supposed to be in the room. And if you know you're supposed to be there, if you're looking for an atmosphere and an environment to be able to cultivate that next step in your life and that next thing that you're supposed to do, then this is the place for you to be. I'm telling you, we don't go like that. If you know that you're supposed to be there, August 17th is the event. The link is there. I'm encouraging you to go ahead and to sign up. I'm also telling you, if you know that you are nowhere in the Georgia area, if you are overseas, or if you are Southern California or anywhere north or whatever, and you say, Danita, I want to be a part of the activation tour, but I know that I cannot catch an Uber to Atlanta. Let me tell you, it's an opportunity for you to be able to join us via paid live stream. That's right. We're going to have paid via live stream. And it's going to be an opportunity for you to, from the comfort of your home, in your pajamas if you want, to be there with us at the activation tour via stream. And I'm telling you, it's an awesome opportunity, because you're going to begin to see, oh, French language, English language, oh, Spanish, oh, wow, these people are talking, wow. But that's what it's about. You got to get out of this thing that the people that you're called to are just on your block. No. What if God is calling you to the nations and you don't know what that's looks like because you've never had an example? Well, this is an opportunity for you to be able to get some knowledge about what to do. And we are able to tell you our story, good and bad and raw. We show you the balance sheet. We show you where we failed. We show you where we succeeded. We show you these last 15 tours that we've done. And we show you the intelligence, the emotional intelligence that we've had to develop, because we've had to and are developing in it. But we let you know when we first did our tour, we were just like a deer in headlights. We didn't even know what was going on. And it took time of consecration. That's right. You have to have a level of relationship with God to be able to hear from Him, to follow His next instructions. So, y'all, we talk about all of those things from A to Z. We talk about the time that I wanted to blah, 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 to Darcy, and he wanted to blah, blah, to me, and how we had to make a decision that come hell or high water, we're going to stay together and we're going to fight this thing out. So we do have a relationship segment in the activation tour where we talk to you raw. See, everything is not for social media, but we are going to talk to you within the confines of the activation tour about the A, B, and the nasty, okay? Because it's not always pretty when you come together to decide that you're going to do something. So wherever you are creatively, whatever decision that you're making, whatever it is, the first thing that I want you to know is the same God that gave you purpose is the same God that gave you creativity. The second thing is your emotions can go in the same way, equivalent to someone that is looking at a dead person in a casket, because you are looking at your transition, your relocation, your renovation, your restoration, and you're just like, what am I going to do now? Who am I now? And that can create panic, anxiety, all of the things that challenge your mental health. And guess what? No matter how strong you are in God, all of us are faced with the opportunities where we allow those things in to our spirits, and it's got to come out. And a lot of times it's so deeply entwined that you have to be delivered. So I'm telling y'all, don't be afraid of all of that. Just get to the activation tour on August 17th or join us via paid live stream, and you'll be able to see what we've been doing these last 14 activation tours all over the world. And I'm telling you, if you pray, continue to keep us in prayer. Now, if you pray sideways, I don't know about that. But if you pray to Jesus, join us in prayer for this event, because we have a lot of people that have already said, Danita, I'm doing everything that I need to do. I don't know what else I need to do. And a lot of times when you sense that pulling and you realize that you're hearing from God, but there's this blockage and you don't know where the blockage is coming from, then it's time to think about the fact that there could be some generational things in there that need to be uprooted out. And how many of you all know a lot of times you can't counsel demons, y'all? You got to cast those things out. So I'm telling y'all, take the opportunity to join us August 17th at the Atlanta Activation Tour. I'm telling you, we've had some amazing opportunities for the years coming to go to Nigeria, Tokyo, Singapore. So we are excited about what's going to be coming. But I know right now our focus is getting ready for this August 17th activation tour. So y'all, if you're going to get here. If you're going to do live stream, get your tickets. The link is above. I will see you all soon. Thank you so much for joining me. So let me just take this time. I'm going to take about 2 questions because I don't want to go over time. Are there any questions, y'all? The link for the activation tour is above. Yes, thank you so much. Hello, Richard. Hello, Georgia. Hello, Lori. Hello, Janelle. Hello, Gregory. Hello, Cousin Aunt. Hello, Clarence, Eddie, Swanee. Bonjour from France. Hello, Nikita, Glenda, Guerra. Hello. Welcome, y'all. Debbie, bonjour. Ruth. Thank y'all. Christopher, Kelsey. Hello. Shaquata, Q. Cecil, hello. Georgia, again. Thank y'all so much. Anthony, thank you so much. Clarence. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I really appreciate Joricia. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. If there are no questions, no questions? Okay. So I am going to see you all in Jesus' name. Next Thursday, I'll be doing these lives every Thursday until the activation tour. Hello, Crystal. And I encourage you to join me on Thursdays at 10. I think we have about one or two more lives before the August 17th activation tour. So I cannot wait to see you the next time. We're going to continue this conversation, but let me ask you again. Share this live on your page and please share it with 3 people that you know. Send it to 3 people that you know. I thank you all for the hearts. I thank you for the thumbs up. To me, that is nonverbal communication, and it lets me know that you're either hearing me or you agree with what I'm saying, and that's good. I appreciate it. Even if you didn't agree, I appreciate that. Also, it's good to be able to have an environment for us to be able to collaborate, communicate, notify, and just create. And I'm just thankful for that, y'all. And these lives present that opportunity. So thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. I love you. God bless you. Stay encouraged. Follow your path. If you are a pioneer on your path, do not get weary in well doing. I'm telling you, don't faint. There have probably been thousands of opportunities that you've had to faint. Lord knows, Darcy and I have had ours. But I'm telling you, do not faint. Keep going, and you're going to be so surprised at what you're going to see on the other side of that God given creativity. Have a good night, y'all.